When you're faced with a big pile of data, where do you even start? It can feel like you're just staring at a wall of noise. Well, in this explainer, we're going to find the signal inside all that noise using a few simple, but honestly, incredibly powerful statistical tools. Okay, so let's imagine for a second that you're a teacher. You just finished grading a test, and this is what you're left with: a list of scores. I mean, it's just a raw, unprocessed jumble of numbers, right? Looking at it like this, it's really hard to tell how the class did overall. Are these good scores, bad scores? It's pretty much just chaos. So the big question is, how do we make any sense of this? How do we solve this puzzle and find the story that's hidden inside these numbers? Turn this mess into something actually meaningful. Well, the answer, and our guide for today, is statistics. It's the set of tools we use to bring order to all that chaos and clarity to the confusion. Seriously, it's how we transform raw data into real insight. All right, so let's officially set the stage here. We're starting with this jumble of numbers. And you know what? This is a super common scenario in just about any field, but especially in data science. Your first look at a data set is often just a wall of raw information. So our first tool for making sense of all this is one you're probably already familiar with. We're going to find the average, or as statisticians and data scientists like to call it, the mean. The definition here is really straightforward. You just add up all the scores, and then you divide by the number of scores you have. That's it. It's basically a way to find a single number that can kind of represent the entire group. And so after we do the math, adding all the scores up and dividing by 9, we get this, 86.1. That single number is our mean. It gives us a quick summary. Think of it like a center of gravity for the whole class's performance. This is our first real step out of the chaos. A great way to think about this is your average speed on a road trip, right? You weren't driving at exactly 60 miles per hour the entire time. You stopped, you sped up, you slowed down. But that average speed gives you one single super useful number to describe the whole trip. That's exactly what the mean does. Okay, so the mean is useful, for sure, but it's not the whole story, especially in data science. So let's move on to our next tool, the median. This is all about finding the value that's smack dab in the middle. The median is all about position. It's the number that sits right in the physical center of your data. But, and this is key, only after you've put everything in order. It literally splits your data set into two equal halves, the top half and the bottom half. Finding it is just a simple two-step process. First, and you can't skip this, you have to sort all the scores from the lowest to the highest. Then, you just find the number that's sitting right in the middle of that nice, neat, sorted list. So for our test scores, that middle value is 88. Simple enough. But what does that tell us? It means that exactly half the students scored below 88 and the other half scored above it. Now, here's why this is so important, especially for data science. Unlike the mean, the median doesn't get thrown off by one really high or really low score. That makes it a super stable and often a more truthful way of finding the center of your data. All right, so we've got the average and we've got the middle point. What else could be useful? Well, let's look at our third core concept, the mode. This one is all about what's most common. The mode is quite simply the number that shows up most often in your list. It's the most popular, the most frequent value. And like the definition says, it's totally possible to have more than one mode. Or if every number just shows up once, you might have no mode at all. This chart makes it really, really easy to spot. You can see it instantly, right? The tallest bar belongs to the score of 91. It showed up twice, while every other score only appeared once. That makes it the most common score in our dataset, which means it's the mode. Okay, let's take a breath. We've calculated 3 different numbers: a mean of 86.1, a median of 88, and a mode of 91. That's cool and all, but what's the big picture here? Why does any of this actually matter? Just look at the difference here. This is the payoff. On the left, you've got that chaotic list we started with. But on the right, a clean, insightful summary. We've gone from 9 totally random-looking numbers to a clear picture. The average score was about an 86, the middle student got an 88, and the most common score was a 91. We actually understand our data now. And this is why we can say with total confidence that statistics is the absolute backbone of data science. These simple concepts, mean, median, and mode, they're the very first steps in any analysis.
They form the foundation that all the complex models and predictions are built on.
So we've managed to turn chaos into clarity. But honestly, this is just the beginning. The real story often isn't in these numbers themselves, but in how they relate to each other. So the next question isn't just what's the center, it's what does it mean when the average, the middle, and the most common scores start to drift apart? What other patterns could be hiding in our data?